Hi folks, and welcome to Truck King. This is an exciting video because we have the Toyota Tacoma Trailhunter, the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro, and David Chow from the Automotive Press News YouTube channel, and we're going to talk about these trucks, but most importantly, at the end of this video, and no, we can't drive them, but still, I'm going to tell you which one I would buy. So David, I think we have to start by talking about the powertrain. This is a brand new powertrain for the 2024 Tacoma. No more V6, that has gone away. Now we have this turbocharged 4-cylinder. In this case, the TRD Pro and the Trailhunter, you can only get this hybrid powertrain. Now the numbers here, 326 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque, and that is now sent through an 8-speed automatic transmission. So a pretty big departure from what we had before, and I'm certainly excited to get into these trucks. The one unfortunate thing is there is a manual transmission, that's good, but no manual with the hybrid. That would have been a nice option, but still it's cool that they kept the manual, at all. So what do you think about this new engine, David?
Yeah, I mean, I used to own 3 or 4 different Tacomas in the past, and they were all V6 engines, so obviously proven 3.5 liters. So I know many of you guys are worried about going from a V6 naturally aspirated to not just turbo 4, but also turbo 4 with a hybrid.
Of course.
And people are saying, hey, is it going to be reliable? Is it complicated? And my answer response to that is, first of all, Toyota does the exact same stringent testing regardless of whether the engine is naturally aspirated or turbocharged or hybrid. So approximately, give or take, 1 million miles of testing will be done on these engines. And so what we call the failure point, which is you keep running until something goes wrong. That type of destructive testing and durability testing is the same whether it's a turbo 4 or any other engine for that matter. So first and foremost, if you guys are worried about any kind of a reliability issue, it wouldn't be the case for Toyota anyway, because evaluation, testing criteria are all the same. And these 2.4 have been around for a little while now, right? They're not brand new for Tacoma. The application is different because the transmission, the electric motor is sandwiched between the engine and the transmission, so it's different from other 2.4 used in Toyota lineup.
Like the Grand Highlander, for instance,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. So it's going to feel different, and we'll find out later in the year how that might be. So the setup is different, but this is for benefit of the truck drivers, because by putting the electric motor between the engine and the transmission, it's going to give more of that truck feel, more of a grunt feel, I think. Yeah. So that's why they did that.
Absolutely, and I mean, just taking what we know about the Tundra's hybrid and bringing it down here, the one thing I loved about the Tundra was that you get that power off the line, the electric power really hits, and then the turbos take over, and I'm imagining this is probably going to be similar, but like I said already, we can't drive them today, which is unfortunate. Hopefully in the next month we might be behind the wheel, so stay tuned for that video.
Definitely.
So just under the hood specifically, there's a couple cool differences here. I can show you this TRD air intake, which is over here on the TRD Pro. I mean, it looks cool, right? And Toyota, they focused on that with this truck. It's obvious they really wanted to make, a badass little truck, and I think that was their focus, and that's what they went for. And then over here on the Trailhunter, the engine's basically the same except for the air intake. Once again, they actually stamp it with that Trailhunter logo. I like that they're differentiating these things too, David. They're really trying to say, if you buy the Trailhunter, it is different from the TRD Pro or vice versa, right? So each customer feels like they get a bit of a unique experience, right?
And these iForce Max engines, again, comparing to the old V6 engine, would be very different in terms of feel. I know we can't describe the real feel yet, but just looking at the spec, the maximum torque happens at much lower RPM, and it's going to stay there all the way through the rev ranges. So we presume what's going to happen is when you step on the gas, it's going to take off pretty quickly, and you're going to feel that torque coming through our body, which is not what we get in the current 23 Tacoma, because it takes a bit of a time to ramp up. And the V6 is actually a really nice engine, but you don't get that quick acceleration that I'm sure we will get with these ones, especially because they're combined with a hybrid system. The maximum torque will be quite immense, and I think it's going to be very noticeable in terms of acceleration and drive feel.
Absolutely. And then the question too will be fuel economy. And I mean, honestly, on the Tundra, I think they prioritize power over fuel economy. They told us that. So I wonder what the jump will be here and how much, again, they're going to make sure the power is there before the fuel economy or vice versa. And again, we can't really say until we get out there and are able to test it, right?
But we know it's going to be better, right?
Yes, absolutely. It will be better. So why don't we close up the hoods now and take a look at these two trucks, because they certainly do look different as well. So first of all, over here on our TRD Pro, this is the 2024, and this is the brand new color they just brought out. It's called Terra. So every single year, TRD Pro, they bring out a unique color that goes across the Pro lineup, and this is it for this year, kind of burnt orange caramel color.
Do you like it, Steven?
You know what? I think it will look good dirty. I don't think it will show a ton of the dirt, but then the mud will look nice on it.
That's true.
I'm still so partial to the blue colors that they had, the cavalry blue, the voodoo blue, were such amazing colors, really eye-catching. This is a little more subdued, but I still like it. Mostly I love the idea of bringing out a unique TRD Pro color every year. It's a fun idea.
I mean, it's only for 1 year anyway, so we'll see if people like it, but I'm with you. Like, I like this one here. All the blues and the grays are great, but I don't know about this muddy looking color. So
fair enough. Why don't you guys let us know in the comments? Yeah, we want to know. Outside of that styling differences, the hood scoop is probably the biggest one, sort of up front. On the TRD Pro you have it, Trailhunter you don't. Outside of that though, fairly similar. You're getting the same, you know, prominent Toyota grille, that integrated light bar, which is a nice feature, the lower rigid light bars as well. You know, the lighting here, everything on these trucks actually feels kind of aftermarket. It feels like they said, what are customers doing anyways, and why don't we do it straight from the factory?
Exactly. Right? If I remember correctly, these one can change to a different color, a white and yellow, I think.
Beautiful.
I think I can adjust the color on that too.
Nice. So yeah, next, again, styling pretty similar, but the attitude and the purpose of these two trucks is different. The TRD Pro is high-speed desert running. If you want to go fast off-road, you get this truck. The Trailhunter is their overland truck. Everyone knows about overlanding these days. It's such a big deal, and that's what it's designed for, more picking through rocks, slow speed, and then you're getting some features over there to sort of help while you're out on the trail. But why don't we walk around the Pro first now, show you some more of the features, and then we'll get to the Trailhunter to show some differences. So you roll back and you start with the tires, a nice set of Goodyear Wrangler Territories. David, these tires have taken over the industry. They seem to be on every off-road model that you buy now, regardless of the brand. The reason I believe is because they're a really nice on-road tire, and then a pretty good off-road tire. But the on-road characteristic is quite good.
Yeah, so what they're doing these days, the tire manufacturers are designing tires that look really rugged, but actually they're kind of like a semi off-road tires in between street tires and off-road. So if you look at the tread pattern here, it's much like many other typical truck tire that's designed for on-street use or highway use. But they put this tread mark here, right?
Exactly.
These are you know, basic cosmetic design to make it look rugged, but the tread is like really very similar to other truck tires. Actually.
So it is, like I said, interesting strategy, and I think that's why most of the brands are kind of going on to them, because the on-road is so good. So behind the tire on the TRD Pro, you're getting Fox suspension. Once again, that's what's making the truck so good off-road, and it's just beautiful the way they've stamped this. That is actually stamped right there into the suspension components. Fox has been providing suspension for TRD Pro for a while. Other brands as well, again, like the Ford Raptor gets Fox suspension. So I think this is also pretty tried and tested system, and again, when it comes to the desert racing, the high speed thing, you know, Fox knows exactly what they're doing. So I think it just makes sense that they would have stuck with them.
And I know we're going to go over to that side a little bit later on, Steven, but we're interested to see the difference in the ride feel and the ride quality between these setup and what's on the Trailhunter, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, we'll have to obviously drive them back to back to figure out, but I'm going to assume that they are going to be somewhat similar and not as different as people think.
I also can't wait to tell, because I don't know what to expect. So as we come back, we do have a rock rail on this truck. It's pretty kind of low profile, tucked up in there, but that is going to offer you some protection, which is nice. And then coming around, we can take a look at the bed. Actually, before I open the tailgate, the beautiful ARB steel bumpers. So for this generation, Toyota's teamed up with ARB. You got these awesome recovery points. And then maybe what's cooler, that's a point for a high lift jack right there. So they actually offer you that jack point. If you're changing a tire on the trail, actually having somewhere you can get to here, that's absolutely handy. So,
and we're just happy to get tow hooks.
Big tow hooks. And I think they learned from the pushback on the Tundra that tow hooks are important. And there are some up front as well. So we can open up the bed now. Of course, the fully composite plastic bed here in the Tacoma, just like they had before. It is, I think, a little bit updated for this gen, but not massively different.
But you know what the big difference is? Because when I owned the Tacoma, one thing I hated it is the tailgate is so heavy, the old one. This one is so light.
And now you're damped.
So it almost feels like it's counterbalanced, because it's just not only does it come down slowly, but when you lift it, it's so light. Because it's aluminum now. Before it was steel.
Got it.
And that makes a huge difference, I think.
Yeah, I love the damped tailgates. Now it's gotten to the point where when it's not damped, I'm like, what's going on
exactly,
here?
Yeah.
We're spoiled with trucks these days. And then maybe the other biggest feature in the bed, I think, right here, that is a plug that offers 2,400 watts of power. So, you know, that's a legitimate amount of power to power all kinds of things while you're out on the trail. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're camping, bring along your coffee maker, stuff like that. And of course, the old plugs were 400 watts, I believe.
400 watt, that's right.
Which Tacoma's always had, and that was nice to have some power, but 400 watts isn't a ton, right? So it's nice to get the extra power.
I just wish that they would give us a non-slippery option. You know, actual, one that's can be sprayed on, bed, I guess they call it.
Fair. I think with this truck, you almost always want that bed mat. You know, the rubberized bed mat. It definitely helps. Yeah. So I think that's it for TRD Pro.
Now what we don't get on the TRD Pro or the Trailhunter is the power tailgate, which is on the limited model.
The limited, the luxury model.
So yeah, I don't think we can get that as a standalone option, which would have been nice, but...
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, come over here to Trailhunter. We'll start here at the back end, and you know the first thing you're going to notice is that big ARB sport bar up there in the bed. The reason I like this one is you can see all of those cutouts on it. That's legitimately useful. You can probably tie things down to it, have things strapped up inside, outside. A lot of these sport bars, honestly, in trucks are just, you know, for cosmetics, just for look. This is partially for that. It does look cool, but I think there's actually going to be some function up there as well, which is pretty handy. And overall, the Trailhunter, it has that aftermarket kind of feel to it, right?
Yeah.
Again, like parts on it that somebody would have gone to ARB to buy anyways.
Yeah, so I think the idea is instead of these people buying aftermarket and spending thousands oftentimes, if the Toyota can offer everything at once and it comes with a actual truck or added as part of the whole ordering process,
exactly,
then Toyota keeps that share, right?
Exactly, and as the consumer, you roll it into your payments, right?
Exactly.
Which is also nice. You don't need to kind of shell out for the entire thing all at once.
Now keep in mind, if you want to put the tonneau cover on this, you do have to remove these bars.
Great point. That is a great point. Yeah, they are definitely in the way. So popping the bed here, very similar, except for this one feature on this side. Here, I'll switch sides on you. This is the built-in air compressor here on the Trailhunter. Again, a smart feature. I'm not sure how many real hardcore off-roaders are going to take this truck out, but for anyone who's airing down on the trail, it's amazing, right?
Yeah,
to be able to air back up. You don't need to drag the compressor with you or strap it down in the bed. Yeah, I think Toyota, I think they paid attention. I think they really paid attention to the people who love and use their products in these ways, and that's who they're catering to. And then if you're not the person who ever goes off-road, you know, it's nice to have a bit of air in the back. You never know when you might need it. Maybe you blow up someone else's tire. Who knows, right?
Exactly, that's right. So do you want to talk a little bit about the body or the frame a little bit, Stephen? Can I talk about that a little bit?
Yeah,
so
no, please do.
Keep in mind that this one, like the Tundra, it is now based on the new TNGA F platform. I call it F2 platform because it's a smaller version of the F1 platform, which is on the Tundra. So this is a global platform now, shared with many other models within Toyota lineup, even Lexus lineup. And they use a very different kind of design for the frame. It's not the old style frame. They use now it's a boxed frame as opposed to open channel, C-channel type. But also the manufacturing method for these frames are very different now. And so the way they use the laser and other type of welding makes it much stronger. And so the rigidity should have improved on this one as well. The entire body, in fact, is much more rigid than it used to be. So you'll notice that when you go off-roading or even just driving on the highway, because the entire body should be more stable and stay more rigid than it used to be.
Absolutely. And then I think tied into that is the rear suspension we didn't mention yet. There's no leaf springs on these trucks anymore too, right? And I think the rigidity of the entire package probably played into that decision somewhat anyways. But yeah, no more rear leafs. We are coil springs here now as well. So yeah, you know what? The rigidity of the frame, but without those stiff coils in the back, you know, it should kind of equal out, right?
Yeah, I think that's a big change, I think. It will stabilize the rear end. I mean, keep in mind the entry-level Tacoma still uses leaf spring.
Got it, yeah.
But all the upper models uses the new coil spring, and that should stabilize the ride even without weight in the back. That's the big problem with the leaf spring. With no weight in the back, the whole thing just jiggles a little bit and loses its composure over a rough road.
Of course.
But I don't know. We'll find out soon when we get to drive them.
Yeah, exactly. Once again, right? So the last couple things here on the Trailhunter here, we can I think come back up to the front now. We mentioned everything in the bed. You're going to see a much more substantial rock rail on this truck than what's over there on the TRD Pro. And again, if you're rock crawling, if you're doing the things that this truck is meant to do, you're going to want that protection, along with skid plates all the way underneath. And then we get over here to the desert air intake is what they used to call it. I believe that's what they still call it. It's not technically a snorkel, but there it is. And yeah, whether you're fording water or in the desert, you just want to get up out of that dust. It's nice to have the high intake as well, right?
Yeah, it's much better integrated, right, than
Yes.
aftermarket ones. That looks ridiculous. I had a 2019 Tacoma TRD Pro, and it had that big snorkel. It was standard equipment
Right.
for Canadian market, and it looked kind of weird. But
Yeah.
this one looks integrated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that these rock rollers, you can't use them to step into the truck, so that's something that you might want to keep in mind.
That
It's
is a good
really
point.
for the protection of the, when you go over the big rocks and so forth doing off-roading, but you can't use it to step in.
Right. Right, and then coming back to the front suspension, we can show you guys too. So again, TRD Pro is Fox, but for the first time ever, they've tapped Old Man Emu for these shocks. Again, love that they're stamping Trailhunter right in there. Looks really, really neat. And yeah, like you mentioned, David, I'm curious to feel the difference between the two shock packages. I imagine the Fox will be a little softer than this truck, but I don't know for sure. So it'll be interesting to see, and just also interesting to see them going to a new supplier, and bringing two different models with two different suspension systems.
Yeah, something a little bit different, I guess. They need to differentiate the two markets, and we don't know the pricing yet, of course. So,
Exactly.
ultimately we have to decide which one we might want to buy
Sure.
at the end of this video. So we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, absolutely. We're almost there too. I think the last thing we do is just got to take a look inside. The interior here is an entire departure from what we had before, right, David? Nothing like the old Tacoma, and that's a good thing. I think it looks nice. The big touchscreen in the middle, all the nice stitching, the attention to details in the materials, things like this kind of carbon fiber look plastic up there, the red stitching. It's all there. And then even in the grab handles, you're getting this nice kind of texture here on your rubber handles. That's where I think all interiors have gone these days. It's all about those little details. They really do matter. Even in the seats, you have this sort of camouflage pattern that's brought into them. And these are nice looking seats, nice and bolstered. They really do look comfortable. And while we're talking about the seats, let me hop in and then I'll mention, these are what's called the isodynamic seats. So there's actually a shock system in the seat that's going to help to suspend me while I'm driving. I can't wait to feel what this feels like too, and sort of how much smoother the truck will get, because now I have suspension in the seat, and we can show you guys that in the back.
And I think just to add a comment,
Please do.
this almost looks like a miniature Tundra design.
It does.
Because I had a Tundra TRD Pro for a while, and it's kind of shrunken version of that, but actually even better looking than the Tundra one, I think. Anyway, personal taste.
I agree. I like the whole center stack there.
And I did a quick quality check also, Steven.
Yeah.
These are built in Mexico, as they have been for a while.
Yeah.
And actually the panel fit, panel alignment of the external panels, and also the interior have been excellent. These are prototypes.
Beautiful. And these are prototypes, yeah, that's important to
production
mention.
models,
Yeah.
but the quality is as good as some of the production cars out there.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, if you want to come in and take a closer look at the seat here. So first I can show you a little bit how it suspends. You can kind of see where the seat's able to move separate from this back. And then these are actually air valves. So you unscrew this and you can add air into your shocks to then add the damping force. So if you're me, a big heavy guy, you're going to want more damping. If you're light, you want less damping. But most importantly, yeah, you actually have a choice, and then you can just fully shut them off as well. If you're just not interested in feeling those shocks doing anything, you can just get rid of them too, which this is something totally unique. I've never seen anyone in the industry do this, so once again, can't wait to feel it. But I think the big downside is how much this eats into the rear legroom, and I might as well show it off now.
Yeah, while you're doing that, Steven, I want to just point out as an engineer, like I love what they did in terms of mechanical aspect of it.
Sure.
But it's also, I don't know, it's a bit of an overkill, for
Maybe.
trucks that most likely will be used on street use.
On the street.
And yeah, like you're showing,
So I
use
stand
up
at,
so much space.
Yeah, I stand at 6'2", over 300 pounds. And I'm not that comfortable. And this seating position is decent for me. Now, honestly, if this wasn't isodynamic and I was to get this, 3 to 4 inches back, I actually think that would make the biggest difference. Although the headroom here is just enough for me. I could use a hair more. And actually, it feels similar to the Tundra in that way, that the rear seat almost feels higher than the front seats. It's almost the stadium seating effect. So I think that's what's eating into my headroom. But sadly, not a massive back seat. Now, sure, it's a mid-sized truck, but as mid-sized trucks go, this is not one of the larger back seats. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I think they kept the exterior size same. They didn't lengthen the truck,
Yeah.
which was one of the things they wanted to retain. It's not to make it bigger, but because of that, we don't have an improvement in interior spacing either.
Correct.
And with that, it eats up more. So I don't know what to say. I love it, but not sure if it's practical.
Right, and how much of a difference will it make off-road? I think that's going to be the real question, right?
You may not have to take these guys on some really tricky off-roading course to figure out.
Now we can show you inside the Trailhunter. Overall, they're very similar, but there are some differences really in the materials. Again, you're gonna see the plastics up here on the dash are different. The stitching is different. The seats are different. Different stitching, different material on there. Again, overall design is the same, but it's those little things. And there's one other little thing. Your JBL Bluetooth speaker, which of course works as part of the stereo, but then if you want to take your tunes with you, you pop that out of there. And you can. I think that's neat. Although, David, I'm just speaking for myself here. I know I would lose this in like a month.
I was just about to ask you.
That's just me.
Would you lose that thing?
Probably.
I'd probably lose it too.
And you know what? We should go in the back and let me hop in this back seat and see what the difference actually
We're kind of hidden behind the tree
looks like.
here, but
Oh, I didn't consider the tree.
we'll do our best.
It's okay.
I will shield you from the tree.
You see me okay there? Okay, coming in. So yeah, as I mentioned, it does make a difference. I mean, it's still a little tight. I'm not going to say it's roomy, but I could actually sit in this one and be fairly comfortable with just enough headroom. So yeah, the isodynamic in the TRD Pro is definitely going to be a factor for rear seat space, and it's something to keep in mind. Well, excellent. David, I think the one other thing we forgot to mention, which is a big deal, no more drum brakes on the rear end of your Tacoma. We now have four-wheel disc brakes. That's something the Tacoma caught a lot of flack for in the past, and now we have discs.
Everything's updated. So
Exactly. So we're coming to the end of this one. If you don't mind, you start, David. If you had to pick with your own money, and no, we don't know the pricing sadly, but if you had to pick one, which one are you going to park in your driveway, Trailhunter or TRD Pro?
Yeah, that's a good question, Steven. I mean, I used to own TRD Pro, so I'm kind of drawn to that one, and I like the whole gimmicky but kind of interesting seat mechanism. But you know what? There's something about the Trailhunter being new, and this combination of this color with the bronze. I don't know. This is super interesting, and the fact that I can maybe customize it to my own liking, straight from Toyota dealership or Toyota system, is super attractive to me. So even though it's a bit of a toss-up, and I'll be happy with either one, if I have to take one, I'm going with the Trailhunter.
Awesome. Well, I think that's the perfect answer because I have to disagree. I like that Trailhunter, but I think TRD Pro, first of all, proven brand name. Everyone knows what it is. And I will totally admit, this is my personal bias. I love to go fast off-road. I want to go as fast as I can across the desert, and that's what TRD Pro is all about. So in that way, I'm taking the Pro. Plus, I'm into this color as well.
So you should buy that one. I'll buy this one, and we meet up halfway across Canada.
So that's a brilliant idea.
Trip, and we go fishing as well.
Love it. I would love that, David. So yeah, I think we're coming to the end of this one now. And of course, folks, we need to hear from you. So why don't you go into the comments, let us know which truck you would buy. Do you agree with me or do you agree with David? As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member. Hey, and don't forget to check out David's YouTube channel, Automotive Press, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.